what is your perspective on how some people can shift to get into a state where they thrive or they want to thrive for a lot more than what their initial environments might have brought in?
Well, I think the first thing is that I'm going to assume that you're saying how does someone go from being in an environment where there's like scarcity
Yeah.
or like an environment where you grow up with not a lot of money or something like that, to how do you then flip the switch to going into, is that kind of your question?
Yeah, and it's not only about money, but it's also like just whether it's poor health. I think what you said, scarcity, that really covers it because you're like in this model where everyone's working really hard, or you've got a toxic environment that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so why is it that some people can move through that and become really, really successful?
I think that like, to me it just looks like I really like what you're saying. One is got to have that strong desire, right? And then you've got to know what you've got to, and then I think people have a certain level that they've got to be above. So does that make sense?
It does. So when I guess the question to that and the strong desire or the obsession, like Napoleon Hill talks about.
Desire, I think really what he's talking about is he's talking about that desire to do what it takes,
Mm-hmm.
like to lift, to raise, to say, well, here's my bottom floor. And I think there's something you've got to demand a certain standard. Whatever your standard of living is right now is exactly what you're demanding from the universe. Wherever you are right now is what you're literally saying, I'm okay with, if you see what I mean. And people have different flaws on where that is.
I guess it makes sense to me logically, however, practically, because like in the manifestation world, for example, right? They talk about living a life in your visual field to your highest potential, and you start attracting that.
So you're sort of talking about, if I visualize it, then it'll come to me. Like, is it the law of attraction? Like I think about it, I make it comes to me magically. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, but I'm not I don't believe in like just thinking. I think you have to act, you have to do things. But there is that concept of energy resonates in the field that you're in, right? So if you're in that higher field, you're probably going to attract people, places that are going to resonate that. And when you're in a lower field, and I can relate to that when I'm feeling really miserable and I'm stuck in that energy, and I have a look at what is actually going on in my environment. It does match. Then it's like about shifting that gear. However, I also think that you can't just think your way and for it to magically happen, because otherwise.
Yeah, and it's very important to have those the times that you're talking about.
Yeah.
To have the times when you're actually miserable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's actually what gives you that's part of what gives you the motivation, right? So to experience I'm not going to say that's across the board for everybody, right? Everyone's different, but like from my experience, saying that the tough times gives the motivation to rise above, because it's like where you start to know clearly what you don't want, and I guess I'm talking about people that are coming from where we talked about at the start, which is like scarcity or lack. The tough times, the miserable times are pretty important, because that's when you have to actually kind of decide,
And so why do you think
decide
some
that
people get stuck there? Why is it that some people reach a crashing point and that's where they are going to stay for the rest of their life? Whereas some people can actually move through, having the same example that you shared before about the person, the entrepreneur that lost all her wealth and then recreated that. Someone with an addictive personality who wins the lotto, for example, it spends every cent. Why is it that someone repeats that apart from mindset?
Well, that's a really good question. I think it's some of it what you demand from life, and a lot of it is there's certain habits, right, that helps. I think if you're more conscious about things, about what you want, then you can create environments that support you. So, like, if you're down and miserable, right, and you go and let's say, I don't know, there's lots of different environments that can make you down and miserable. You might be living in a flat, like you might be in your early 20s living in a flat with a bunch of people, and they're all down and miserable, and you're down and miserable, and it's not working. So you kind of need to make decisions about the environment that you like. Really, it's environment's very important. It's like, do I buy if I'm buying a desk for my new office, what do I do? Do I buy the cheap desk, or do I buy something that when I sit at it, I go, oh, this feels nice. Oh, oh, yeah. So you can make lots of little choices about your environment that lift your floor, don't cost you a lot of money, but lift your floor. So you can make this. So it's really about those decisions that you make.
So exploring that environment a little bit more then, what if you're in a state where your environment is okay, right? But you know that to get to your next level, you need to be surrounded with potentially people that are doing the things that you want to do, or being at the place that you want to be at. However, all those spaces require you to have some sort of monetary input.
That's one way of looking at it. Maybe it does require you to have monetary input, or maybe not. I mean, there's lots of different ways of changing the environment. There's a really good book about this. Really, it's called, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Trick to Money is Having Some. So, by a guy called Stuart Wilde. I read that multiple times when I was in my early 20s. But basically, what he says is like go and hang out at the best hotel in town where all the rich people go and just drink a cup of tea and pay, like, I don't know, what do you pay for a cup of tea? $5?
Yeah.
And all these wealthy people all around you.
Mm.
And like, you just have to sit there and listen to conversation and just kind of, like, I'm giving like a simple example of, you don't need, like, what I'm hearing you saying is quite like in order to achieve that, I've got to be this, which is that's quite limiting. You see what I mean? And if you think it's that you need to hang out with certain people, then you need to find ways. If you don't have any money, if you don't have the money to hang out with them, like, I don't know, to be investing in their business or to be taking them out for lunch or whatever, you need to find other ways. Like, do they like going for a walk in the morning down the beach? Well, that doesn't cost anything. Buckminster Fuller talks about, don't change the people, change the environment.
Yeah.
So you need to be resourceful, which is a skill. Even when I was early on, I was very careful about the environment that I was like. I put up with some things for a while, but it was always like, oh, I'm putting up with that until I get to this, and then I'm gonna jump up.
Yeah. And so when we're talking about the environment, people are part of the environment, right? And so I'll give you an example from my perspective where, oftentimes the conversations that I have, they take a lot of energy these days because they're kind of stuck in their way of thinking. And every time I try and expand their viewpoint from a scarcity to an abundance mindset, it's always pushed, and then I feel guilty about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that's two different conversations. That's two different things going on there, right? So the first thing is that you find that they've got a bunch of limiting beliefs, right, and which you come from. So when you interact with them, because when you talk to them, what you've got to remember is whatever comes up for you is not them, it's you.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you talk to them and they say something and you start thinking, oh, they're talking about limiting beliefs, that's actually your own limiting belief coming up.
Yeah, but
you can get support around this, support you to get you clear. You know what's going to happen when you talk with them, right?
Yeah.
Going to bring up all the stuff for you, all your limiting beliefs, or it's going to resurface it. So you got to have some kind of practice, and it might be talking to someone, it might be just a little journal that you do like afterwards, where you just go, hold on, let's just flush that out, and let's write about those beliefs and let's see if they're true or not. And because really, most beliefs are wrong.
And you talked about having that deep desire and obsession, and what if that changes? What if that purpose is no longer the purpose? What if there is no purpose?
Well, I think that's a channel for you at the moment. But if you took that out of it, you'd find something else.
When someone's trying to 10x their business, or they're changing directions, like they're transitioning from something that they were doing to something completely new, you've got to have certain characteristics. And I think you talked about like being resourceful, having that deep desire. And I would almost say that you will have to have a certain level of grit in you to be able to do that.
Yep.
Right? But then there's also paradoxes, like there is that self-awareness piece, but then there's an inner critical piece also. You can be super aware that you're criticizing or being a perfectionist or yeah. The same thing with like confidence and arrogance, right? Where does it go from one to the other?
Well, you can definitely have both.
When we're looking at human potential and being a successful human being, right? Because at the end of the day, money's money, right? That doesn't make you a fulfilled person. But you do need certain characteristics in you to be able to do that.
Yeah. Although, I kind of get what you're saying, but again, I still think a lot of it comes back to, choosing your environments carefully, setting yourself up for success. I did quite a good exercise actually a few weeks ago on our leadership mastery course, where I just had people do a wall sit, right? So you know what I mean by that, like you're sitting against the wall, and you're sitting on the bridge.
Yeah.
If I just asked you to do that, how long do you think you could last?
I've done probably 45 seconds in the last couple of weeks, which is not that long.
Yeah, right. So you've done 45 seconds. Now, if I put so by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by yourself, you can do 45 seconds, which is pretty okay. That's all right. It's pretty good. So you can do 45 seconds by yourself.
Yeah.
If I put some pump up music on and had someone standing next to you going, come on, you can do this, let's go. You can do another 15 seconds. Come on, let's go.
I've done it with a PT for a minute.
Yep. Right. So as soon as you introduce something else to the environment, then all of a sudden you're able to last longer. When you change the environment, you added some more support in, right? You're able to do more. And if you take that, so that's on a real micro level, but if you take it to a macro level in your life, and I'm not saying that you need to have a PT with you every minute or second of your day. I'm just saying that's changing your environment, right? So if you just change your environment that you can get another 15 seconds on a wall sit, then imagine what that does elsewhere in your life. Like, where are you trying to do things by yourself right now, where if you added in not necessarily a person, but some kind of support structure, that you'd be able to do more without more effort. But it did take more effort to do the extra 15 seconds, but you're capable. So you're capable of doing more when the environment supports you to do more. The other way of looking at it is you can take a team of people, and with a certain team leader, those people will do very, very well.
Yeah.
With the team leader, they won't do very well at all.
Yeah.
Same people, you put them in a different environment and they succeed.
Happens in football all the time.
So the people are the same. They've got the same characteristics. They've got the same inner drive. They've got the same motivation. They've got the same physical capacity. They've got the same intelligence. Different team leader, they soar, and with a shit one, they go down. So what's it got to do with characteristics? It seems to me that you have a belief that people have to have a certain set of characteristics in order to be successful. Is that right?
Well, I guess that's what I'm exploring at the moment. It's like, do people have to have a certain level of skills and characteristics to be able to reach that level?
Well, I would suggest that I've proved that they don't.
Yeah. Because you're talking about the environment. Well, I would argue the fact that that environment that's been created is still upskilling them or is still asking more of them.
Yep. Agreed. Yes.
So they've got to then up level or skill build or
The environment's demanding them to do it.
yeah, but they've got to have it in them. They've got to have the adaptability, like the cognitive flexibility, the resilience to be able, or they could just give up and say, this is too hard a basket, I'm going to go. And some people do, right?
Yes, some people do, but like a really good team leader is able to kind of, like you say, create that environment that has those people upskilled. If you took a matrix and you said, like, okay, here's a bunch of characteristics, and I'm going to score all of these people, right, on a scale of 1 to 10 on all these different characteristics. And the people that score, let's say 7 and above on all these characteristics, they'll succeed. And the people that score less than 7 on them, on more than 3 or 4, won't succeed. I'm proposing that it's the environment that has people succeed or not.
To add to that, I think someone can have a 3 out of a 10. However, if they're being given, like maybe the environment you're talking about, if they're shown how to, they can get to a 7.
They can learn and grow, and they can develop that characteristic.
Mm.
So they don't have it, they're not strong on it, but they can develop it.
There is some part of me that still believes that if they don't have that characteristic, then they're not going to be able to, because they have to have that in them to be wanting to do that, to get to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's a value system.
If you've got a belief that you've got to have certain characteristics in order to be successful, then it's a great excuse for you to not be successful, because it's like, well, I don't have the drive, or I don't have this, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the, so I'm not successful. Quite insidious though, because I can see where you're coming from. You look at successful people and you go, well, they've got drive, they're intelligent, they're resourceful, they're this, right? I'll tell you what though, one of the things about resourceful is that being resourceful is something you can learn. It's a trait, it's a characteristic that you can learn. I don't know if you can learn to be more driven than you are, but you can put yourself in an environment which drives you to be more.
What about emotional repression then? Because most of the time, what I've seen in my world, whether they're people that I know or people that I've heard of, they've gotten to that success level, but they're very emotionally numb. And then once they've gotten there, then they're starting to reconnect because they're feeling lost.
So that's just their journey, right? And what you're saying is they made the money, but they still didn't feel successful, because they're then like, oh, hold on, I now need to explore this other part of me, because actually that didn't give me the successful feeling or the satisfied feeling that I thought I was going to get, right? So that's a journey they've gone through.
Coming back to characteristics, do you think conviction is something that's needed in someone?
Well, I think conviction helps.
All right, one last thing to finish off. What are your thoughts about independence and loneliness, like as a paradox when you're trying to break your own environment and your own limiting beliefs, when you're on the trajectory of wanting more for yourself and being independent?
In terms of growing business, my best work has definitely been done with other people, not by myself, not independently. Every success I'd have had in business would have been with other people, definitely not by myself.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to ponder and exploring things and challenging my thinking. So thank you.
Great to chat. Keep up the good work.